Sorry, already having technology issues. Sorry about that. Welcome everyone to our time together at this January's Member Cafe. Thank you all for being here with us today. My name is Kilsey Disla, and I am the Member Engagement Bilingual Health Educator with Partners Health. That was a mouthful. But again, thank you so much for joining us for our Member Cafe this month. Today with us, we have Terry Christie, who is going to be our producer. And so she's going to handle anything technology in the background. And we also have Stacy Lawrence with us, and she's going to be putting stuff in the chat for you and making sure that when you put in some questions or any concerns in the Q&A that you are um, getting responses and also plugging in important information for you. We also have Dr. Erin Gray, and I'm going to introduce her a little bit more in a second. Before that, I want to go ahead and give you some housekeeping in this portion really quick so that way we can get ourselves going with this topic. Alrighty, so as you can see here, we are going to be offering today's session in closed caption. You will see the controls for this feature at the bottom of your screen. You can simply hover over that live transcript to make the change to meet your needs. Unfortunately, we're unable to accommodate any AI note takers within Zoom due to cybersecurity reasons um, with our agency, sorry. And we will have to remove any attendees that are using that feature or remove it if you are. So our apologies for the inconvenience if this causes any inconvenience for you. This meeting is being recorded, and so we do have that on already. Please do not share any personal information during our session. We want to be mindful of protecting people's identity. So no personal information on the chats. And also, again, partner staff is here to help you with any individual issues or concerns. If you do need to chat directly to any of us, Stacy and Terry specifically will be there to help you with any information or any concerns that you might have during the session. The recording for this session is going to be available at our website, www.partnersbhm.org. And if you go to the search bar in the upper right-hand side in our website, you can type in Member Cafe, and you will be able to find the recording for this session. So we do have some features that we want you to use during our time together. So you have the chat box where you'll be able to engage with us during the session, and you can enter any comments. Also, you'll have the Q&A option, and this is going to be opened later on for you to be able to ask any questions during and after our presentation and our time together. Again, Stacy is going to moderate those questions and the chat as well, along with Terry, so that way we can go ahead and make sure that you're not feeling out there lonely in the virtual world, but that we are here with you. The reactions, we encourage you to use those all the time. You have some emojis there. You can raise your hand for questions or thumbs up. I like the heart emoji because that's how I roll. So yeah, at the end of the session, we also will have a survey. We're going to ask you to take some time, a few minutes, it's not too long, to answer that survey. We just want to hear from you, and we're constantly listening to or hearing from you so that we can tailor these member cafe sessions to really meet your needs. This is your space. We're here for you, and we're providing this information so that you can bring any concerns anything that you have for us. This is a safe space that we want to create for you. All righty. So we're going to go ahead and start with our session. Because we know it's the beginning of the year, everybody starts putting those goals together about being healthy and losing weight and all these other things that we want to achieve in the new year, right? We're going to encourage you to do those things by providing this series for you. And so it'll be a three-part series called Healthy You. And we're going to start today with nutritional health. And what we're going to talk about is why good food choices matter for your body. And as I mentioned before, Dr. Gray is here. She's our panelist and our expert in this topic. Dr. Gray has built an extensive career focusing on women's health and medical education. She has over 15 years of experience in health and wellness solutions. Dr. Gray also serves as partner management's deputy health chief medical director. Let me say that again. She serves as partners Health Management's Deputy Chief Medical Director for Physical Health. That was a mouthful as well. And she's joining us or has been with partners since 2024. So thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for being here with us. We really appreciate your time. And again, if you don't see Stacy or Terry, they're still here behind the scenes for you. So Dr. Gray and I can go ahead and start with our topic for today. So the big question that we want to answer today, or that we're going to start with, because we all have this need for this information, is Dr. Gray, why is eating healthy important for our members, for our lives, for any of us? Why is it so important for us to eat healthy?
Yeah. So, well, thank you for having me. I didn't get to say that before, Kelsey, and everyone who is joined us and is listening to our chat today. So, when we begin to talk about healthy eating, I think especially when we're talking about health and healthy, we need to have some good working definitions of these terms because there's a lot of information, sometimes noise around this topic, and the wording, and the phrases can bring up some thoughts and ideas or previous experiences we've had. So, what I would like to offer you guys for today is to define healthy eating. I think a good general definition is eating a well-rounded diet that includes as much whole food as possible. So when we talk about whole foods, you're probably going to hear us talk about it a few times today. Whole foods are foods that are as close to where they came from in nature as possible. So the reason that these are Whole Foods is specifically named in this definition is because they give us fiber, which our body needs, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. So it's a good place to start. Um, and that being said, it doesn't always have to be like only raw fruits and vegetables are whole food. No, that's not the case. But fruits and vegetables in lots of forms can fall under the heading of whole foods. A lot of our proteins are meats, or nuts, or beans, legumes. Those all fall under the umbrella of whole foods. So there are a lot of what do I want to say? Food groups. There's a lot of things in different food
Mhm.
groups that can fall under the heading of whole food. Okay, so that's our definition we're working with for healthy eating, is eating a well-rounded diet, including as much whole food as possible. So why is that important? Well, the whole point, well, not the whole point. In my personal life, I like the whole point to be I want food that tastes good. But
Mhm.
our bodies really want food that gives them energy. Okay,
Yes.
that's what all of the nutrients that we absorb from eating are what our body uses to convert into energy because all of our cells need energy to do their jobs. We need to have different nutrients within our diet to help with our immune system. It helps us fight off infection. It helps with healing. So, if any kind of healing, whether it's from skin healing, from an injury, or something different, we use a lot of the nutrients that we take in to build our bones and muscles to keep us strong. Or if we are, in our younger years, help us to grow our bodies as they're continuing to grow and develop.
Awesome. That is so great. And you covered a lot. So we do have some more information around um, the resources for you to get to my plate, for instance, and we'll share that later on to get some more of all of those whole foods and nutrient-based foods that Dr. Gray is talking about. So when we talk about nutrition, I know that looks different for different people, right? I know culturally it's defining for me. What my Latino mom wants to shove down my throat when I'm little looks different in my space than somebody else. But can you define for us what nutrition is?
So, a good basic definition of nutrition is the food that we eat and how it provides nutrients for our body to do all of the processes that our body needs to do. So, that's a good basic definition of nutrition um, that sort of takes out of it a lot of the feelings around nutrition. How about we say that?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if the word shoving was the best word to say, but I know, it could sound aggressive sometimes for us, depending again,
No,
culture and
definitely.
spaces, right?
Right.
Where
We all have different
yeah.
eating, right? Eating
Yeah.
has lots of different, it's very complex. Okay. We want
Hmm.
it to taste good. It's part of a community, it's part
Hmm.
of caring for someone, connecting with others over a meal, and all of that. And we have the food that we eat that our bodies need, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's, we can't, have one without the other.
Yeah, and it's such an important topic because of that, because it does bring us connectivity with our nucleus, our people around us, our
Mhm.
families, but also with our communities, right? And so um the next question that we want to kind of talk about, and we're showing you a slide with some of the nutrients. Again, we'll give you some resources later on, but the other thing that comes up when we're talking about this topic is what are some of those important nutrients that, and you kind of, excuse me, you already mentioned some of them. What are some of those nutrients again that we want to be mindful of to stay healthy?
Sure. So if we have um, that nutrition slide come up again, what we'll see is that we have our food groups. So our bodies need all of the food groups. Okay, it needs something from all of the food groups. So our food groups are we might have one a little. That's when we get to our plate diagram that tells us about our food groups. So when we look at the nutrients that we need, they're sort of broken down into macronutrients and micronutrients. When we think of macronutrients, those are our carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And pretty much those foods are broken down, and those are things our body can use as energy. Okay, so we can convert all of those things into a form of or into a glucose, which our body can uses all of our cells used for energy because that's what they have to do, use to do their processes. Um, and then we have water here we do need to take in water. And we have our micronutrients, which include the vitamins and minerals that our body needs. So vitamins and minerals, they're like tricky. Everyone says like you have to have your vitamins and we have to have a certain amount. So like why? Why do we need them in our body? Parts of the vitamins and minerals or the actual whole compound, a lot of these are used in our body will take them and then use them to make some chemical compounds that our body needs, like They may be like neurotransmitters or some of our hormones or something like that. So our body can, there are building blocks, like our ingredients for what our body needs to make and then use.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you so much for explaining that to us. Okay, so we're gonna continue to move along, and the next question that we want to know about is how does food, as we're taking it in, how does it affect our body for it to feel and work at its best capacity, if you will? How does that food um, help us to feel better for our bodies to work and function?
Yeah, we've been, we've touched on this as we've already kind of discussed, but our body needs the components of the food. The food gives us things that we can't make that a lot of times that we need. And so how do we use that? We make it in our brain. Okay. We use the components of what we eat to make neurotransmitters, which are needed for our brain function. Okay. Our neurological system
Right.
are those macronutrients can affect our blood sugar and our body's metabolism of that. And so that can affect our energy levels sometimes. What we eat can affect inflammation throughout the body. Having more inflammation, usually we feel more tired. Depending on the kind of inflammation, we can have itchy skin or something like that. Also, we all probably know we take food in, it can impact our digestive system, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
we probably all can agree that when the digestive system isn't doing what it needs to do for some reason, it is really bothersome, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, definitely our nutrition and what we eat can impact that as well. Um, Also, we have a lot of information and research on our children, and as they're learning in the younger grades, that when they have adequate nutrition, their brains learn better. They're able to retain the information, to have focus, and to be alert.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. That is so great. Yes, definitely. We can feel the difference, right? When we have good nutrition in our body and when we're not eating so well and then we're feeling maybe groggy or some different feelings that we have along the way, especially our stomach lets us know, hey,
For
maybe
sure.
don't eat that. That's not a good idea, especially as we're getting older. I noticed that, what I could when I was younger, what I could digest then, I can't really digest so well now. So
Yes, this
mindful
is
of that is
something
important.
each decade we probably have a little bit more experience with that.
Absolutely. Great, great. All right, so moving along, and here is the My Plate, and we're gonna share this information in a little bit, but tell us a little bit more or talk about what can happen to our health when we eat unhealthy food, Doc.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to say this a few times. Like, let's define what we're talking about here.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So, when we talk about unhealthy eating, I'd like us to think about it as not meeting our nutritional needs
Mhm.
or eating over our nutritional needs. Okay. So, in
Right.
the short term, if we don't meet our nutritional needs, we might feel more tired. We have trouble focusing. We may struggle with whatever physical activity that we need to do. You may notice that, you know, last week, whatever you were doing for physical activity was more easy than, say, today or something like that,
Hmm.
or even just getting our daily tasks done. When we look at long term, not meeting our nutritional needs or going over our nutritional needs, we can have, not meeting them, we can have certain vitamin or mineral deficiencies. So we've all heard of those, like with our calcium and our vitamin D, that helps to have our strong bones. So sometimes over a lifetime deficiency of that can lead to osteoporosis.
Mhm.
Sometimes vitamin and mineral deficiencies can weaken our immune system so that we get sick more often from those um, colds or bugs or viruses. We call them opportunistic infections sometimes.
Mhm.
Also, over a lifetime, we can have increased risk of heart problems with that, and that comes from um, the way we metabolize some foods, like our lipids or our fats. And if we have an overnutrition of that, our body is pretty good at handling it most of the time, but
Mhm.
for a prolonged period or over a lifetime, we can have those deposits in our blood vessels, and that's not ideal. Also, overnutrition, it increases the risk of obesity, and then obesity increases our risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
So being aware of that as we're making our nutritional choices is probably a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. And that definitely, I'm always pro preventative care, right? So what we do today is going to matter tomorrow. And again, going back to what we were saying, culturally, or even I know that brown people like me were naturally more deficient in vitamin D. And so really making sure that when you go get those wellness checks and that you're having those conversations with your doctor that you're checking those levels so that way you know if you need to supplement or anything like that. Awesome, Doc. So let's talk about what does health do for us and how does it affect like me, but also the people around me and my community? How would you define or tell us how does our health affect our communities and the folks that are around us and why that's important for us to think about that?
I'll let you know, Kelsey, when you background is I had a little prep for the questions. And this was at first my a little challenging question. Like you really have to think about how does our health affect our community? How does our community affect our health? But it has become my favorite question that we're going to talk about today. So I think it's important to take a minute and define healthy. So the
Yes.
Cambridge Dictionary says that healthy is like strong and well. Okay, I like that. All right. The WHO says that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So I like those two
Yeah.
definitions. I have a more of a favorite one, but this one comes with like a little bit of bullet points. So I'm going to tell it to you, but these are good. This one I think is the takeaway for me. What I would, if you could remember one thing from our talk today, I hope that it's this. So
All
I
right.
read this
Notes.
article.
Take notes, people.
I read this article from Genesis Medical in Pennsylvania. I just happened to stumble upon it. And they described being healthy as eating a well-rounded diet that includes whole foods,
Hmm.
that you can effectively manage a full range of emotions, that you have enough energy to get through your day and complete your tasks,
Mm.
that you feel rested when you wake up. That's a tough one
Oh,
for
that's a
us a
good
lot.
one. Yeah.
Um, and that you include movement in your daily routine.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, what I really liked about that definition of being healthy is it didn't include a lot of the things that may come to our minds when we first think about health or healthy. It didn't include anything about what a person looks like.
Right.
It didn't include anything about how many chronic diseases a person has. It
Mm.
didn't include anything about how many medications a person takes. So I really like that because we can have all of these, I think we can understand and see that it helps you have a better quality of life and engagement in your life.
Right. Right.
So I really liked that definition. But your question was how does our health affect our community? So, it would be interesting if people could share what their answers were in the chat or the Q&A. But
Sure, feel free to put those in the chat so we can see what you think it is. We definitely want to hear from you.
some of the things that I think about is first I think about the level of community. So if we do a little zoom in and we talk about the people who are around us daily. So maybe our family or our important people, people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. These are important people to us, hopefully.
Hmm.
So when
Absolutely.
we are healthy, we can engage with our people. So we can connect with them, we can be more present with them, we can do things together that we enjoy, whether it's hobbies or activities or just a conversation. So I think that when we feel our best, all of that connection becomes a little bit easier. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So also I think about when we have thinking about the spread of illness. This is where we're going. When we have
Mm-hmm.
strong immune systems, we can fight off short-term illnesses like viruses or bacterial infections like colds, sore throats, something like that. We can fight them off quicker and more effectively. And that also protects our important people from catching the illness from us and then having that affect their bodies as well. Um, and then when we think
Hmm.
generationally,
Hmm.
we're modeling this definition of being healthy for our next generation. So that could be if we have children or
Right.
grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighborhood children. I think they're little sponges, always absorbing
Mhm.
everything. So I think that is an important part of being part of a community.
Love that. Love that. And I know you have more to that definition, but I did want to interject and say so that people can kind of think about it. I know I'm thinking about
Mhm.
it. Quality
Yeah.
time is like my love language, right? So when I think about my mom, who's in her mid 80s, right? And we're gonna go visit grandma, I'm always telling my kiddos, hey, we gotta be, as healthy as possible to visit grandma because we don't want to, because she's fragile, we don't want to infect or affect her in any negative way, right? So
Right.
important as you're saying that for us to be mindful of that and then the passing down of that information and modeling it is super important. I'm working a lot with my youngest on that now. So, and there's different age groups and they need different things. So being
Yes,
mindful of
exactly.
that as well.
Their
Continue,
bodies
Doc.
are
This is
like
awesome.
growing and changing constantly, right?
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
yes, talking about protecting a certain population like like grandparents for children or something like that is a
Mhm.
really good way to introduce some of the habits of decreasing the spread, like washing your hands or things like that.
Mhm, mhm.
Then I just wanted to touch on if we look at a broader community level, say, but still close to you, say that's your work community or a school community or a church community or a community center. That's a lot of communities. But when again, that holds true of if when we are healthy, we're able to fight off those viruses or infections more quickly and effectively and decrease the spread through the community. And we have more energy to like interact with our community, to work, to learn, to connect with others, and then also to serve our community.
Right, right.
Those are my thoughts that I came up with for how our health affects our community.
That is so awesome, Doc. And so we do have some comments and questions on the side. I'm going to stop here with some of our questions so that way I know we kind of basically answered all of the major questions that we have. I do want to open it up to folks on the chat and in the Q&A just to really get you to ask us anything that you have. We have Dr. Gray, who's an expert in the field, so we want to make sure we take advantage of this time. And so I'm going to invite Stacy or Terry, and I see some stuff in the chat as well. I'm going to start with the one. Can you give an example of what food groups I can make for a healthy, filling supper, especially for a member who is very food focused? I think about my teenager when I hear very food focused.
Yes. Um, I might need a little more information about what kind of food focus we have, but if we bring up our healthy plate, our plate.gov, if we have that back, I really like this. Okay, it's really simple, but it is really impactful. So if we look at a plate and we look at how we fill the plate, so you want to have all the food groups present. So we have some fruits and vegetables, grains and proteins. So first check off in a meal is, do we have our food groups present? The second check off I like to think about in a meal is it colorful? If that helps. So we want to have that shows that we're getting different vitamins and minerals within our meal, I think. And so do we have different colors represented on our plate? It doesn't, I mean, if we have some potatoes and chicken that are the same color, that's okay. But just thinking first hitting all the food groups, second making it colorful, and then the third little checkbox is, are we having whole foods on the plate? Okay. And the answer is yes, I'm sure that you are creating a meal that has whole foods on the plate. But if we bring it to the forefront of our mind, then maybe we can add a couple more servings in the day. So I like to think of that instead of taking things out
Hmm.
of the diet, what if
Right.
we could begin with the whole foods and then eat your normal diet
Right, right. And
and
that's
see
so
what happens.
important because, dieting and the whole word, all the stigma around it and just, the negative connotation of you're taking something from me. I'm going to suffer so,
Right.
so much, right?
Right.
And what comes up to mind as you're explaining all of this is some of us have different nutritional mindsets around our preferences, right? We have folks who are vegetarian, vegan. I have a kiddo who has allergies, so I have
Yes.
to be careful with that. So, just what comes to mind for me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, be mindful of those special situations where you're going to have to probably look at my plate a little bit different because maybe you don't eat meat and you're going to get protein from maybe legumes or something like that
Yeah.
instead.
Good point.
So doing your little research, we want you to also learn how to be resourceful for yourself so that you can have the best nutrition possible. Um, Stacy, I'm going to let you ask the next question that you have or see. Um,
No worries. So technically the next question would be, I'm confused. Or is grains larger than protein? So that would be the next question.
That's a good question. I'm looking at that now and I'm like, where do those lines lie in that plate? I think that it's I think that it's pretty equal right there,
Mhm.
but then the fruits in the veggie line means more vegetables than fruits.
Right,
It's a
right.
rough estimate.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And if you go to myplate.gov, it will give you a lot of insight. They have links and tons of resources to, again, that you can navigate and see. And not just the definition of each of these portions, but also the list of options that are available, right? So we want to see also where we can get these things in our community. Um, Thank you, Stacy, for helping me with that. I also saw it said how can we be more present for our loved ones, a community as a whole? Um,
So that
it
one
can
was
be
part of the
hard.
interaction part that you were asking questions. And so you have two answers or responses to your
Mhm.
question that you asked for them to respond to.
Right,
And so that was her
right.
answer, or that was their answer. We can be more present with our
Yeah.
loved ones, a community as a
Mhm.
whole. It can be hard to have enough resources for everyone if we're not healthy. So how does that health affect community? And then the
Mhm.
next response to your question was, if you're not feeling well and are more depressed, your partner will carry more of a mental load.
Mhm.
Um, The pressy part, yeah. So those are the things like if we're not eating what we need to eat and taking it into our system or being even mindful of what our system can tolerate, then those are those negative effects that can happen when we're not at our best or optimal health.
Mhm.
Exactly. Thank you, Stacy. All right. Any other Q&As that maybe I'm not seeing? That would be a Stacy and Terry question. Anything else? Um,
Those are the
folks,
only two, but I also want to make sure that you guys know, because I went to myplate.gov. And then there's also realfood.gov as well that's connected to my plate. And so
yep.
I wanted to make
Yep.
sure that everybody had that additional resource as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And always remember, Partners is here for you. So any questions that you have, we have our call center. We have ways to connect you to resources that you might need. We know that we're dealing with areas and counties that have food deserts. So we're trying to do our best to make those collaborative efforts to support our communities. What would you say to folks who are living in spaces like that? How can they wrap their minds and their
Mhm.
lives around healthy eating when you're in a space like a food desert, Doc? What would you say to
Yeah,
somebody like that?
it can be really challenging, first of all, I would say for sure. And that is where our community or our larger, community is not serving us well. Um, I would say going back to like what foods are available. Remember I said the vegetables, any form is great. So it doesn't always have to be raw. We can do canned, we can do frozen. All of that is great for the body. We can do a little bit of pre-prepared if that's available to people. And then, nutrition is getting the food that our body needs. So that can come in different ways. And at the end of the day, we have to be fed. Okay. So whether it's all the food that we wanted in the day, or there were some limitations on how we could get the food in the day, just don't layer on top of that feeling super guilty about the choices if there wasn't choice there, I would say. And then,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think that.
Yeah, yeah. And, going back to community, right? Connecting, excuse me, connecting with our community, right? Sometimes our neighbors can offer support and or, just we can be there. I know I lived in a
Yeah.
community like that where it's like, hey, I got beans. What do you have?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm taking it way back, but just being mindful that there are people who care about you and want the best for you and that we're here for you, and if we can connect you in any way to supports, to a pantry, to anything
Mm,
that's going to make it um better or easier for you to have, it's easier said than done sometimes when we have situations like that, right?
right.
So we can tell you every day, all day long, eat healthy, but if you don't have resources that support you, it's going to be harder, right? So we're mindful of
For
that as
sure.
well.
Yes, we are mindful of that. Yeah, with lots of community resources, like you said, or even like access to produce from gardens that are available around, if that's something that a community has, is a great thing to do too.
Awesome. Stacy, I think you have another question.
I do have another one. Is
Awesome.
it just as important on how you eat as well as what you eat, i.e., mindful eating?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Mhm.
That's a term that's been going around a lot, mindful eating.
Okay.
Um, I think when we break it down, it's saying be present with your plate a little bit. We've talked about that, being engaged in your communities, being present with your people, while also at the mealtime. And then slowing down a little bit with eating. So being focused on the food and then eating. And I'm pretty sure that the goal of that, the hopefully the outcome is that we're more aware of what our body's feeling and when we're feeling full and when we're feeling done, rather than done being a clean plate or a complete serving or sort of not really thinking about what done feels like.
Right,
So I
right.
think both can be important, of what foods we eat and sort of being present with when we're eating. But the being present when we're eating may be accessible when different food choices aren't always accessible,
Hmm.
right? So kind of thinking through that and then choosing like what do you feel like would work for you? What would work in your life? So start small. There was some tips up there. One was start small. So pick something small and don't think about, don't picture a future where you know, never eat ice cream, okay? Because that's not reality. And I don't want that to be your reality because ice cream is delicious, right? So zoom in and think, what can your life handle like right now? And if
Right.
it's, put your fork down between bites, go for it. Like that's part of being present and slowing down with our
Hmm.
eating.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think about a lot of us having to be in so many different places at one time and multitasking and moving around so quickly, right? And a lot of times having to get to our work, back to work, and sometimes we don't block out time to eat,
Mhm.
let
Right.
alone focus on eating healthy, right? I love that you were saying starting small. There's a saying, how do you eat the elephant, right? You eat it one
Oh,
bite at a time. If we're going to talk about, so think about that definitely. And, we have those nutrition tips for you there, that Doc was mentioning. So being mindful of, and Terry, if you can bring those back up again, just what to reiterate what Doc was sharing with us. Um, really being mindful of these nutrition tips that we have for you, right? So, starting small. Don't, there's something called a SMART goal, right? So, it needs to be attainable for you, right? That's the big deal, and that it makes sense for you, and that you have that time and availability of those healthy foods. So eat different kinds of foods, like Doc said, right? To stay healthy, that whole food that we talked about. Um, Drink a lot of water, right? Avoid as much as possible those processed foods that we know we're always engaging with, right? We love ourselves some chips and food, different kinds of food. And like Doc said, you don't have to avoid them completely, but just again, be mindful of your intake with them. Um,
yeah.
try not to skip a meal. I think I'm really awful at this one, right? Skipping meals because we're running around trying to get to the next thing, and we're maybe sitting down and eating a big meal at one time. Again, it looks different for everyone. So just being mindful of what works for you. Try not to skip meals. Um, Eating small portions is healthy. So, Doc, what do you think about small portions throughout the day versus a big meal? What does that look like for folks?
Yeah, I think a lot of suggestions are in smaller portions throughout the day versus the big meal, but I think this is a time where to check in on how you're doing and how you
Uh-huh.
feel with what you're currently doing. So if you go through those healthy, being healthy feels like, do you have enough energy throughout the day with the what you're currently doing? If not, then consider making some small adjustments to see if you change the when you eat, if it affects your energy during the day. And the size of the portion is challenging. It's really challenging. It's really challenging in our culture, and in our country because portions sort of get a little bit out of whack. So just know that we are all with you
Yeah,
struggling
we're
with
in it
portions.
together for sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Doc. Yeah, so really think about, I know that when we have very busy lives, sometimes, doing the pre-work, right? And maybe portioning things out beforehand, and then you put it in a
Yeah.
Tupperware, and maybe having it available, that kind of helps as well with that. Yeah, choose healthy snacks. Going back to that my plate, right? If you grab a snack, thinking about what that looks like. Um, we didn't talk about this because we're talking about nutrition, right? But sleep is definitely a very important part of all of this, and the whole cycle around the healthy you, right? So
Yeah.
making sure you have enough sleep actually matters as well because, um, you know, it might not be the food that you ate that made you groggy. It might be because you didn't get enough sleep. So even noticing and being mindful about those things. Um, we talked about eating protein and definitely staying active helps us even with our digestion. Is that correct, Doc?
Yes, for sure. We, if we walk after eating, it helps us with absorption of our nutrients and our glucose. It can help move things through the digestive tract a little bit too.
Hmm.
So it doesn't mean that you have to walk after eating, but just kind of elaborating on how our movement affects our digestion and how we can feel after.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna say the last thing is listen to your body, going back to what Dr. Gray was saying, like really practicing mindfulness, going back to that conversation around what is your body telling you after, before you're eating,
Mhm.
and what is it experiencing, and being more attentive to that as you're taking in different things and maybe trying those whole foods. Are you feeling better afterwards, versus maybe when you're eating something different? So, definitely, hopefully you took some note of these tips. And we have the other tip that we were talking about. Terry is going to pull it up, but just again, going back to what Doc was saying, start small and think about what you're incorporating with those whole foods and those healthy choices versus what you're taking away. And you know what? We all need each other. Everybody has different opinions about nutrition. We have different upbringings around
Mhm.
nutrition. And so just really make sure you're talking to your doctor, your nurse, your nutritionist, your resources, the Y, the community centers have a lot of resources around
Mhm.
nutrition. We do as well on our website. We have um, uh, a plethora of information that you can tap into. We have a also we have a library of videos and things that you can tap into that help you with your journey to a healthy you or a healthier you, if that's the case. We're going to go ahead and did we have any other questions? Um, Stacy or Terry from the chat that maybe I didn't notice.
It was just a comment that said some suggest fasting and 1 meal a day.
Mm.
Oh, yes. We love the
Yeah.
conversation of fasting or intermittent fasting. We've
Yeah,
heard
intermittent
good one.
fasting is definitely out there as a way of structuring your meals. Um, I think it can get really specific about how you do it, but it doesn't have to be specific. Um, it's not for everyone, okay? And I think if you are looking for a change and you want to try a big one, you give it a go for a few weeks, set your amount of time, and then see how your body feels. Check back in, see if it's for you. So what intermittent fasting kind of boils down to is trying to eat your meals within about probably around 8 hours,
Mhm.
maybe even like 7 hours within that amount of time in the day. And then, you are not eating with those other hours of the day, which includes sleeping. Um, and
Yep.
so seeing if how you feel, does your digestion feel better? Do you feel like you have more energy? And if you don't, then you then try something different for your body. There's no one size fits all answer. Um, for these, unfortunately. But I
Yeah.
did want to make one comment when we were talking about starting small, and you were talking about you have people around you that care about you. Um,
Mhm.
if you choose your start small, maybe I invite you to tell someone, and then maybe invite them to do it with you, and that always brings in the connection and community, and you're doing something together.
Absolutely. I know, when we're starting to eat healthier, as I think about it as a mom, right? Like if I don't incorporate my kids or vice versa, then, I might be lured to the snacks that I have for the kids versus what I need. So just being mindful of it being, something that you want to tell, excuse me, those folks around you what your intentions are so that they can be supportive of you and help you out in your journey. But yeah, so great stuff. I don't see any other questions. I am going to ask Terry to pull up the survey, the QR code that we have. I want you to take a moment and go ahead and take out your phones and scan the survey. And as you're scanning the survey, again, it's a few questions that we have for you. We basically just want to hear from you. Stacy's putting it in the chat as well. You can go back to it in a little bit. I do want to share some information related to how we can support you here at Partners and how you can connect with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. This was such a great time. Thank you for joining us and just helping us to understand what healthy looks like and how we can eat better, how we can make good choices to have a
Yeah.
healthier brain, body, and functioning tool that our body is, right? So
Right.
that
It
we
serves
can
us and we have to serve it.
exactly, so we can live longer, happier lives with ourselves and those around us, right? So here we have some important to knows. As you're seeing here in this slide, I'm just going to share some information on some stuff that we want you to kind of know so that you can connect. We do have changes that happen to the NC Ombudsman program, and so members are now able to connect. There's no change in the number, so you can use that 877 2013750. Stacy put some information on the chat for you about that. Agents will connect folks to that are Medicaid beneficiaries to their health plans and care management support as people need it. So just be mindful of that. We also have some information in regards to us and how you can contact us here at Partners. We have our member and recipient services line that's available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and it's 888-235-4673. This is for Medicaid members, state-funded recipients, stakeholders. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact us. We have our behavioral health crisis line available 24/7, 7 days a week. You can call and you will have a live person on the other line. If you need translation, we have that available. That's 833-353-2093. Please give us a call whenever you need our support. We have our non-emergency medical transportation number as well, 833-577-2309. We have our nurse advice line, 888-369-2452. Our pharmacy services are available when we talk about nutrition and we talk about health. Going back to what Dr. Gray was saying, some of us have medications that we're taking and are part of that Healthy You. So we have that 866-453-7196 number available for you. Again, that's available 24/7. And that is specifically for our tailored plan Medicaid members and providers. We also have Teladoc Health, and that's a service that we have that you can connect to for assistance. And Stacy's putting that in the chat, that link for you. And we also have our provider services for providers who need support with anything provider related. For us, if you have any questions or concerns in our member engagement department, you can reach us by email at memberquestions@partnersbhm.org. Remember to visit us on our website. We have a lot of information there, a lot of resources available to you. Please reach out to us. We're here to support you in your journey, and let us know future topics that you want to hear about. Again, next month, we're going to continue our series. We're going to talk about those wellness checks and those things that we need to be mindful of as we're talking about maintaining ourselves healthy and prevention. And we're going to finalize it with a diabetes training because, as Dr. Gray was mentioning, if we don't have certain things in place, if we don't eat healthy and it leads to obesity, then that could connect to other illnesses and chronic illnesses for that. So we want to be mindful of how these things connect so that way we can make better choices. Thank you so much, Terry and Stacy, for helping me, and Dr. Gray today, excuse me. And thank you all for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. And we ask you to join us next month for our member cafe. And we hope that you have a really, really good year for 2026.